43 million is a very large number, and it's even larger in regards to money. But what if I told you that an OnlyFans creator made that in just 1 year? Quickly before the video starts, I just want to say that I have launched a website where I'm selling some hoodies. I have a very limited stock, and I know it's getting colder outside for some people. So if you want to cop one, the link will be at the top of the description. Enjoy the video. For those who don't know who Sophie Rain is, she's a very successful OnlyFans creator who's probably one of, if not the most popular creator on the platform. With over 2.6 million followers on X, 5 million on Instagram, and over 9,000 on TikTok. I'm kidding, it's over 9 million. Her success is almost undeniable. I mean, she even did a podcast recently where it was unearthed that she's making around $4 million a month from OnlyFans.
Sophie. So you are aware that like you're the final boss when it comes to OF, right?
Is that what they say?
Yeah.
Is that what they call it?
Mm-hmm. And I know you saw the clip of Julia making $400,000 a month, so I just need to know, like, how much are you making a month?
I don't know if I don't really want to hurt your feelings. I just don't.
Hurt my feelings? What do you mean?
And just a side note, I feel like this podcast itself is pretty fishy because to me, it just seems like an OF promoter where they have like rehearsed lines and they do terrible acting. I mean, I've even made a video on her before for doing something similar with her little brother because there's no shot that this is real dialogue between these two. However, I will take what they say in numbers in good faith.
You don't have to say, just show me.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And I won't break your phone. $4 million in a month?
Yeah.
400,000 the last 7 days, in case you were... not even, it's more than that.
Now, I don't know if you guys can fully understand just how much money $4 million a month is. And guess what? Neither can I because we're all poor. However, according to ChatGPT, her income puts her in the 0.1% of earners, which basically just means that she could buy you. And yes, I'm talking to you watching this video. Don't try to run. After the internet found out how much money Sophie Rain makes, the internet did what it does best: hate.
We are now living in the twilight zone. Today is a world where somebody like Sophie Rain makes more than professional models.
Bro, this overdramatic music is killing me.
We're talking about Adriana Lima, Kendall Jenner,
Adriana Lima,
Kendall Jenner, Cara Levine. This explicit model made $43 million in a single year. I guarantee you so many women are going to try to get the same bag.
We're in the twilight zone, guys. Watch out for the vampires. Post after post, people shared Sophie Rain's apparent salary and compared them with other famous individuals. One of my personal favorites of these posts is them comparing Sophie Rain to runway models, with a caption saying, "We live in a world where only models like Sophie Rain are making more than actual runway models." And look, I agree that Sophie is getting paid too much money, but we're not gonna act like runway models are the face of hard work. They're damn near in the same boat as Sophie because they should not be getting paid that much money either. Like $40 million to walk down a runway? Are we joking? And speaking about the money aspect, I don't think people understand that without people paying for Sophie's subscription, she wouldn't be making that much money. Like, I'm not trying to defend her, but she's simply capitalizing on the demand in the market. She isn't the first to do it, and she's not gonna be the last. Like, I didn't see all this outrage when Corinna posted that she made $67 million in 3 years, and she's retiring. How do you retire from OnlyFans? You don't do anything. But with Sophie Rain, my curiosity is mostly in how she came up so fast, because it seems like it was overnight, and now, I mean, she damn near has more of a following than most celebrities. But with numbers like that, the biggest question is, how on earth did she gain all of it? And well, the answer is pretty simple: idiots.
What? What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
Sophie Rain's content typically consists of her wearing some type of bikini, bodycon dress, or just something tight-fitting to show off her body. And she's usually doing this while doing a TikTok dance. Now, I personally don't understand how these videos get millions of views, but we listen and we don't judge. Lots of OF models, and I use the word models very, very loosely, do this same combination of posting. However, I believe the reason Sophie blew up so big doing this is because a lot of people generally find her attractive, no matter what age they are.
If anybody else loves Sophie Rain, raise their hand.
Oh God, help us. Matter of fact, I'm willing to make a bet that a good percentage of Sophie Rain's audience comes from the male age range of 15 to 23. Like, I literally have 6 mutuals with her on my personal Instagram, meaning there are 6 men that I know that follow her and she doesn't even know they exist. And I can guarantee you that they aren't following her for her music, which is a completely different story. And for those that—
All right, so welcome to another deep dive. Today we are going to be looking at Sophie Rain.
Oh yeah?
She is one of the I guess you could say one of the biggest stars of OnlyFans.
Yeah, she's huge.
Millions of followers, you know, across all the social media platforms. So.
Yeah, TikTok, Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
Big presence.
So what really caught my eye was this this number that I saw like going around,
Right.
which is that she she apparently made like $43 million
Wow.
in a single year from OnlyFans.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. And, I was thinking about it and I was like, that's more than some like A-list celebrities are making.
Right.
And so, how did she get there? What kind of content is she putting out? And what does it all say about, the world that we live in, the online world?
That's a big question, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing when you see someone making that much money. I mean, the first thing I think of is it even real? But I mean, if it is real, you're talking about someone who is in the top 0.1% of income earners.
Oh, yeah.
You're talking about like, top surgeons, CEOs.
Wow.
Big time stuff.
Okay, so like high level earners.
Yes.
Definitely.
So, I mean, when I first looked at her content, I have to admit I was a little confused.
Okay.
It's a lot of bikini shots, a lot of bodycon outfits, TikTok dances. And I mean, I get that it's popular, but I don't know, like what's the draw? What's the secret?
Right. Yeah. Well, I think, we have to acknowledge one of the sources we're looking at, this YouTube channel called Curse, they actually kind of cast some doubt on that number, suggesting that it was, taken out of context from like a podcast or something, and that, maybe it's not entirely accurate. But I mean, for the sake of this deep dive, let's just assume that the numbers are true.
Okay.
Let's assume that she's making that much money. Let's go with it.
Then the question becomes how.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that she's really tapped into is this idea of parasocial relationships.
Okay.
You heard of that?
Yeah, yeah.
Where it's like she cultivates this online persona that makes people feel like they really know her.
Right.
Like they have this special connection with her.
So, I mean, that makes sense, right? It's like you get a little glimpse behind the scenes.
Right.
Even if it's all like, kind of manufactured.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it makes people feel special. It makes them feel connected.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. Especially if you're talking about her target demographic, which seems to be, primarily young males.
Okay.
Between the ages of like 15 and 23 or something like that.
Yeah, that was kind of my impression too.
Yeah.
When I was, kind of looking at her social media. It
Yeah.
seemed like a lot of younger guys.
And I think that raises, that raises the question of ethics, right?
Yeah.
Is it okay to be marketing this type of content to such a young demographic? I mean, it's a tough question.
It's a good question, yeah.
There's no easy answer.
It does make you think, like, where do we draw the line between, like, what's okay and what's maybe a little bit exploitative?
Right. And then you have the whole Spider-Man incident.
Oh, yeah, that was wild.
Which really blew up online.
Yeah, that was everywhere.
That's a perfect example, I think, of how she has she's really mastered, I guess you could say, this attention economy.
Right.
Right. So for those who haven't heard, there was this video that went viral of someone who looked a lot like Sophie Rain.
Oh, yeah.
In a Spider-Man suit, getting into some, let's just say, mischief.
Right.
And, even though she later denied that it was her.
Yeah, she was like, no, that's not me.
She totally played into it at first, and people were obsessed with finding this video.
Like, obsessed.
Like there were dedicated TikTok accounts.
I saw those.
Popping up just to like try to find this video.
It's crazy.
It's wild. And I think it really highlights, the power of going viral.
Right. Like just that power of, when something blows up.
And the fact that, any press is good press in a lot of ways.
Oh, definitely.
Especially online.
Yeah.
So even if it was negative, even if it wasn't really her, it was still keeping her name out there.
Right.
It was keeping people talking about her.
So it's kind of like she turned that whole controversy into a win for her brand.
Absolutely.
But let's flip the script for a second.
Okay.
Some people might say, hey, she's not forcing anyone to subscribe, right?
Right.
It's a service. People are willing to pay for it. Is it really that different from any other form of, entertainment out there?
That's the heart of the debate.
Yeah.
When it comes to Sophie Rain and other creators like her.
Right. So, I mean, on one hand, she's, she's running a business. She's incredibly business savvy.
Oh, yeah.
She's operating within, the rules, right? She's giving people what they want.
Yeah. I mean, even the creator of that Curse YouTube channel called her a genius marketer.
Wow.
So, I mean, he clearly respects her skills on some level.
Okay.
You know, she knows what she's doing.
Right. So it's not just random selfies.
No, there's a strategy.
There's a whole plan.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, we have to acknowledge the concerns.
Yes, of course.
The ethical concerns surrounding her success.
Absolutely.
I mean, there are critics out there who question the morality of the whole thing, especially considering, the age of her audience.
Yeah.
They worry about the impact that this kind of content could have on, young, impressionable minds, particularly, young men.
Yeah. So I think it comes down to this question of, is she exploiting a young audience? Is she promoting unrealistic beauty standards?
Yeah.
Or is she just a savvy businesswoman?
Right. Is she just capitalizing on a market that already exists?
Exactly.
And it's interesting because this is like a conversation that's happening
on
a much larger scale in society right now.
Absolutely.
About online content, about sex work, about the blurring lines between, entertainment and exploitation.
It's a big conversation.
Yeah, it is.
And it's one that we need to have.
Definitely. And I think this is probably a good place to take a little break.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground already.
We've covered a lot. I need a minute to process. I feel like my head is spinning a little bit.
It's a lot to take in.
It is a lot. So we'll be back in a minute.
All right, sounds good. It really is a lot to think about. And I think what's so fascinating about this whole Sophie Rain thing is it kind of forces us to confront some maybe uncomfortable truths.
Oh, yeah.
About ourselves and about our,
our values.
Yeah, our values as a society.
Like what? Like, give me an example.
Well, I mean, what does it say about us that someone can achieve this level of fame and fortune?
Okay.
By essentially, selling access to their body online.
That's a good question.
Right.
And I don't know if there's an easy answer to that.
Right.
I mean, I guess it depends on your perspective.
Right.
Right? Like some people might see it as empowering, like she's in control, she's making her own money, she's not hurting anybody.
Yeah, you could definitely argue that.
Yeah.
And then other people might see it as a symptom of a culture that objectifies and commodifies women's bodies.
Yeah.
Like they might say that she's perpetuating harmful beauty standards.
Yeah.
Or contributing to the over-sexualization of, young people.
That's a really good point.
Right. So it's a real gray area.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what makes it so interesting.
Well, yeah.
Where do you draw the line?
Yeah. Where do we draw the line?
Between empowerment and exploitation.
I don't know.
Yeah. And here's another layer to consider.
Okay.
Even if we accept that what she's doing is, okay, are we then obligated to support it?
Ooh, okay.
Right. Does consuming her content make us complicit in a system that some people might find,
unethical,
ethically questionable?
Yeah, those are some heavy questions.
Yeah, no, right.
I mean, is enjoying something different from endorsing it?
Right.
I watch reality TV, but I don't necessarily approve of everything that the people on those shows are doing.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it does raise the question of where our responsibility as consumers lies.
Okay.
Right? Do we have a duty to be more discerning about what we consume online?
Okay.
To think critically about the messages that content like hers is sending.
Right.
It's
with great power comes great responsibility, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And as online consumers, we do have a lot of power.
We do.
We can choose what we watch, what we like, what we share. Our clicks and our views have real world consequences.
They do.
So I think that's one of the most important takeaways from this whole deep dive.
Right.
It's not just about Sophie Rain.
Okay.
It's about all of us.
It's about all of us.
And the choices that we're making online.
Yeah, this has been really, it's been eye-opening for sure.
Yeah.
I went from being confused by Sophie Rain's success to now being kind of overwhelmed by all the ethical and societal implications.
I totally get it. It's a complex issue. And there are no easy answers.
Right.
But that's also what makes it so fascinating, right?
Yeah.
It forces us to think critically about our own values and how they align with the world around us.
I'm curious, what do you think is the most interesting aspect of Sophie Rain's story?
I think for me, it's the way that she blurs the lines between authenticity and performance.
Okay.
You know, like she's clearly very deliberate in the way that she presents herself online.
Okay.
You know, she knows how to create content that resonates with her audience and that builds that sense of intimacy.
Right. That parasocial relationship we were talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if it's all calculated, is it even real?
Right.
And does it even matter?
That's a really good question. Yeah, I don't know.
Right. And I think the answer is it depends.
Okay.
It depends on what what her audience is looking for, what they're getting out of the interaction, and whether they understand like the boundaries of that relationship.
So it's like, as long as everyone's aware that it's like part of the show, then it's okay. But as soon as someone starts believing that, like they actually like know Sophie Rain,
Right.
like personally, that's when it gets like a little bit
problematic.
Weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it.
Okay.
And it really highlights the need for like media literacy, especially in the digital age.
Yeah.
Like we need to be able to critically evaluate the information that we're consuming online.
Okay.
And understand that not everything is as it seems.
That's a great point.
Right.
So if you're enjoying Sophie Rain's content or any content like hers, you should really like take a step back and ask yourself, like, what am I getting out of this?
Exactly.
Am I aware of the potential downsides?
Right.
Am I comfortable with the ethical implications?
Exactly. And it's not about, judging anyone or telling them what to do.
Right.
It's just about like encouraging them to be mindful.
Yeah.
And to make informed choices.
So going back to Sophie Rain, do you think she's a positive force in the online world? Is she paving the way for other women to like take control of their own careers and their sexuality? Right. Or is she contributing to a culture that objectifies and exploits women?
That's a tough one.
I know.
I think that's a question that only each individual can answer.
Okay.
For themselves.
Okay.
There's no right or wrong answer.
Right.
But I do think it's important to have these conversations and to acknowledge the complexity of the issue.
Yeah, it's definitely not black and white.
It's not.
But that's what I think makes it so compelling.
I agree.
It forces us to confront like our own biases, our own assumptions,
our own comfort level.
Yeah, and our comfort levels.
With this whole like ever evolving landscape of online content.
And it's constantly changing too.
It really is. Yeah.
And I think that's what makes this show so valuable, is that it gives us a space to explore these complex issues in a nuanced and thought-provoking way.
I appreciate that.
And we always encourage our listeners to continue the conversation.
Yes, please.
Share your thoughts with us on social media.
Yeah.
Talk to your friends and family about it. And most importantly, just keep thinking critically about the world around you.
That's so important.
Both online and offline.
I love it.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
We've talked about Sophie Rain's business savvy, the ethical dilemmas surrounding her content,
the parasocial relationships,
the power of those relationships,
our responsibility as consumers.
Yes, all of that. It's a lot.
Where do we go from here? Like, what are some final thoughts you want to leave our listener with?
What's really sticking with me is like that whole thing about the attention economy.
Yeah.
And how she's kind of mastered it, right? Oh. Like, is she just really good at what she does? Or is there something like, is it like a symptom of something bigger, maybe a little unsettling about our culture?
Right. Because on the one hand, you could look at her and be like, wow, what an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
She saw a market. She understood the tools. She understood the psychology.
Right.
And she built this like insanely successful business.
Yeah.
It's like a masterclass in digital marketing almost.
Yeah. You could teach a course on this.
Right.
But then it's like, okay, but then, step back and it's like, what does it say about us that this kind of content is so lucrative?
It's a good question. And I think, it's not even just about OnlyFans. You look at like the rise of influencer culture in general.
Yeah.
We're putting more and more value on like access, authenticity, or at least the perception of authenticity, and these parasocial relationships.
Right. Yeah.
So it's all kind of tied in together.
Yeah. And what's interesting is like she kind of plays into all of that, right?
Yeah,
like she's figured out the formula for online success, like a little bit of, carefully curated content, a little bit of, strategic controversy,
right?
And then like just enough like vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
To make people feel like they
they know her.
Yeah, they know her.
It's powerful.
But then it's like that's where it gets a little like
slippery.
Yeah, slippery. Like are we becoming desensitized to this?
Yeah, that's a good question. Are we kind of blurring those lines between entertainment and exploitation?
Yeah, and I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
But I think it's good to at least be aware.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need to be critical thinkers. We need to question what we're seeing.
Yeah.
And we need to think about like the broader impact of our choices online.
Yeah, I like that. Be a critical thinker.
Right.
And I think that's where, these deep dives really come in handy.
I think so too.
Because it's not about telling people what to think.
Right.
It's about giving them the information and the context to form their own opinions.
Exactly. We're not here to judge Sophie Rain.
Right.
We're not here to judge her audience.
We're just trying to like
understand it.
Understand it.
Yeah, and encourage people to think critically.
Yeah.
About the world around them, both online and offline.
So to our listener out there, who might be kind of wrestling with all of this, what would you say is the key takeaway?
The key takeaway, I would say,
be
aware of the forces at play in this attention economy. Be aware of the ethical, complexities of online content, and be aware of your own values.
Okay.
And how they align with your choices online.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power.
Right.
And the more informed you are, the better equipped you'll be to navigate this crazy digital landscape.
It is a crazy landscape out there.
Yeah.
It's always changing.
It really is, yeah.
So I think if there's one thing I hope people take away from this, it's that it's okay to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's okay to ask questions.
Absolutely.
And it's okay to have different opinions.
I love that.
These are complex issues and there are no easy answers.
That's what makes it so important to talk about them.
Exactly.
So thank you to our listener for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody.
I hope we've given you something to think about.
And we'll see you next time for another deep dive.